Hey everyone, I'm Andy and this is the AI Breakdown. CES 2026 wrapped up in Las Vegas earlier this month, and I think it quietly marked a shift. AI has moved on from being the shiny add-on you stick on a product to get a headline and started behaving like infrastructure, like Wi-Fi, like cloud, like electricity. It's just assumed, and you could feel it everywhere. The keynotes weren't really about novelty anymore, they were about integration. AMD's CEO summed up the mood with a simple line saying, AI is everywhere and for everyone. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through 5 big AI themes CES made impossible to ignore, and I'll keep it grounded in what was actually shown and announced. Alright, let's get into it. When people say AI is everywhere, it can sound like marketing fluff. At CES 2026, though, it was unusually literal, and the most important place it showed up wasn't in smart fridges or talking mirrors. It was in the workhorse device most businesses buy in bulk, the humble laptop. The anchor story for this theme is simple. Your next work PC is going to have an AI co-pilot under the hood, whether you asked for one or not. Now, before your eyes glaze over, let me quickly translate what the chip companies were all talking about. They kept throwing around this term, TOPS. That stands for trillions of operations per second. Basically a fancy way of saying how much AI thinking your laptop can do on its own without sending everything off to the cloud. AMD used CES to launch its new Ryzen AI 400 series chips, boasting up to 60 TOPS on what's called the NPU, or more specifically, the Neural Processing Unit, a little dedicated AI engine inside the processor. Intel came back with its Core Ultra Panther Lake chips, claiming a whopping 180 TOPS across the whole system. And what Intel is really saying there is that your laptop isn't just going to run spreadsheets. It's going to run an assistant locally, privately, even offline. Qualcomm, meanwhile, is pushing AI into the mid-range with its Snapdragon X2 Plus at 80 TOPS, and it's making the battery life pitch too, saying it cuts AI power use by roughly 43%, so assistants can run all day. So yes, the numbers are big, but the real message from CES is even bigger. Stop thinking of on-device AI as a cute webcam filter or a gimmick. This is serious capability being baked into everyday business computers, the same ones sitting on desks in HR, finance, safety teams, and operations. So AI isn't arriving as an app anymore, it's arriving as part of the hardware. Microsoft leaned into this with its new Copilot plus PC framing, basically positioning these as the smartest and most secure Windows laptops yet, because they come with dedicated AI hardware built in. And the manufacturers, they're already lining up to ship them. Lenovo, for example, introduced ThinkPad X1 Aura editions as part of the AI PC wave, and there were even concept devices pitched around ambient AI, the idea that your device proactively adapts to you. Now here's the business angle, and it's bigger than people think. Procurement and IT refresh cycles are about to become AI strategy decisions. For years, the laptop refresh conversation was basically price, performance, battery life, warranty, maybe security certifications. Now you're adding a new line item, on-device AI capability. Because if you buy a fleet of machines with strong NPUs, you're implicitly deciding that parts of your organization's AI workload can and should run locally. That has knock-on effects. It can change your cloud spend, it can change your security posture, and it can change what AI access looks like for employees. Think about it. If a laptop can do local transcription, summarization, translation, document search, maybe even run a decent-sized assistant offline, then the employee experience shifts. The salesperson on a train with patchy Wi-Fi can still have an AI helper. The finance team can analyze sensitive documents without pushing them to an external server. Your legal team can summarize contracts without a cloud round trip. CES also hinted at this becoming a developer opportunity, not just an end-user feature. AMD even introduced a mini PC, Ryzen AI Halo, positioned as a developer kit for high-performance edge AI, basically saying, here's a box you can use to prototype generative AI apps that run at the edge, not the data center. So if you're a software company or even an internal IT team building custom tools, you can start to treat the NPU as a new deployment target. Just like we once learned to target the GPU for graphics, now we target the NPU for local inference. But infrastructure cuts both ways. First, vendor lock-in is real. When AI is baked into hardware, you're not just buying a laptop, you're buying an ecosystem. Different chip makers have their own stacks and optimization paths. If you build internal tools that only run well on one vendor's NPU, you've created a subtle dependency that will show up in your next procurement negotiation. Second, management overhead is about to get weird. We're used to managing devices and apps, but managing models across thousands of devices, that's new territory. CES's own trend analysis flagged this, where IT complexity becomes the hidden cost. You've got questions like, how do we update models safely? How do we ensure consistency? How do we store models securely on device? And what happens when one department is running an older model that behaves slightly differently from another? There's also the reality that the hardware is arriving faster than the software is maturing. A few years ago, when AI PCs first hit the market, we were all asking the same question: what actually uses the NPU? CES 2026 felt like the industry is finally answering that, but it still requires vendors to optimize properly and for businesses to be thoughtful about what they deploy locally versus centrally. My opinion is to treat AI PCs the way you treated cloud 10 years ago. Don't buy random instances and hope it sorts itself out. Create a standard. Decide what workloads you want on device, what you want in the cloud, and what you absolutely don't want happening on unmanaged endpoints. And if you're in procurement, a laptop refresh might now be the biggest AI decision your company makes this year. Not because the laptop itself is magical, but because it determines where your AI runs, how your data moves, and how much control you actually have. So yes, AI becoming baseline infrastructure is exciting, but the real maturity move is recognizing that AI inside isn't a feature, it's an operational commitment. The second CES theme is the one that makes the infrastructure story feel real: edge AI and privacy, or as I like to call it, the no cloud required wave. At CES 2026, the shift wasn't theoretical. It showed up in demos where the whole point was that AI could function even if the internet fell over. Let's run through 3 quick anchor stories. First, deepfake detection on device. Gen, the company behind Norton, partnered with Intel to show a real-time deepfake detection prototype running locally on a PC. The key detail here is that it analyzed video and audio simultaneously on device, designed to catch manipulation as it happens. Gen said their research found scammers increasingly embed deepfakes inside long-form videos. Think lengthy YouTube streams or Facebook videos, where the scam slowly builds trust before the hook. So the detection tool isn't just looking at the first few seconds, it's monitoring the content while it plays. That's a proper shift in posture. Instead of telling employees, be careful out there, and doing awareness training, you start giving them tooling that can flag suspicious media in real time. Second, on-device KYC and deepfake checks. A startup called True Sources, showing in Eureka Park, demoed on-device identity verification that does liveness checks and deepfake detection locally, so your personal data never leaves your phone. That's a privacy story, yes, but it's also a product differentiator story. In regulated industries, not having to ship sensitive identity data to a server is a big deal. Third, Caterpillar's Cat AI assistant, and this is where Edge AI stops being about convenience and starts being about safety. Caterpillar's CEO Joe Creed used a CES keynote to launch the Cat AI assistant, a voice-activated helper for equipment operators. In a live demo, an operator used "Hey Cat" to set a safety limit, and the excavator automatically kept the boom from hitting a 13-foot overhead power line. Caterpillar said the off-board version would roll out via its apps and websites by Q1 2026, with the in-cab version in final validation. And the reason this fits the Edge AI theme is that the in-machine assistant, as shown at CES, was designed to run locally on the equipment. Caterpillar demoed it running on an NVIDIA Jetson Edge computer with a local 4 billion parameter language model with no cloud link required for real-time guidance. This matters because Edge AI solves 3 very unsexy very real problems like latency, offline reliability, and data control. If you're doing something time-sensitive, like an operator moving a 6-ton excavator arm near a power line, you don't want your safety boundary check to wait on a network round trip. And thinking of remote sites and field operations that often have patchy connectivity, Caterpillar explicitly has to design for this type of reality. Edge AI means the system still works in mud, dust, and chaos, not just in a well-connected office. And when it comes to data control, for a lot of businesses, the barrier to AI adoption is simple. They don't want to send sensitive data to someone else's servers. On-device processing changes that. It's not perfect, but it's a big step. Now, there is a reality check here. On-device models are smaller. That's not a complaint, it's physics. You're not running a massive cloud model on a laptop NPU or a Jetson in an excavator and getting the same performance across every task. These edge deployments are about choosing the right model for the right job. And then you hit the scaling headache, like updates and maintenance. If you've got AI models sitting on thousands of laptops, phones, vehicles, or machines, you need a way to push updates, manage versions, and make sure the model you validated last month is still the model running in the field. CES's own analysis called this out. Edge AI becomes a new layer of infrastructure to manage, like mobile device management, but now it includes AI models. So my takeaway is not move everything to the edge. It's put AI where the work is. Theme 3 is the one I hope kills off the most tedious phrase in tech. We're exploring AI. At CES 2026, the tone shifted toward return on investment first AI, decision intelligence, and digital twins, where the bar's very simple: show me the numbers. Siemens delivered the cleanest example. They launched a digital twin composer platform as part of their accelerator suite, built to create full 3D, physics-accurate digital twins of factories or supply chains. You feed them real-time data and then use AI agents to test optimizations virtually. And they didn't just talk about it in theory. They highlighted PepsiCo as a real-world user. PepsiCo converted several US plants into digital twins and ran AI simulations. Siemens said the results were big, about a 20% throughput boost, around a 10 to 15% reduction in capex on initial deployments, and, this is my favorite line, about 90% of potential issues found up front before making physical changes. That last stat is the quiet killer feature. If you can spot most of the problems before you move a machine, change a line, or invest in new equipment, you're not just saving money. You're saving time, stress, and reputation. Siemens also announced 9 new industrial AI co-pilots across design, engineering, and operations. Tools that do the boring but huge work like automatically checking product data for errors or handling compliance documentation. The business angle here is that AI projects are no longer competing against doing nothing. They're competing against hard ROI opportunities. If a digital twin can realistically lift throughput by 20%, then your cool chatbot pilot with no clear KPI starts to look a bit unserious. And here's what CES made clear. The new bar is metrics or bust. You need defined KPIs and you need change management. But again, reality check. Those PepsiCo numbers don't come from model magic alone. CES commentary around these wins kept circling back to the same thing. Clean, well-structured data is the fuel, and the other ingredient is process redesign. If your data is messy, siloed, and unreliable, your digital twin is going to be a beautiful 3D lie. And even if your simulation finds a better schedule or layout, you only get ROI if your organization can actually act on it. That means policies, incentives, and frontline workflows have to change. So, if you're listening and thinking, right, we need a digital twin, my advice is start smaller than you want to. Pick a process with a measurable pain point. Downtime, scrap rate, throughput, capex overruns, and build the capability to simulate and test changes. Make sure you can measure outcomes in the real world and invest in the plumbing, data quality, data governance, and integration. Theme 4 is physical AI, and yes, it sounds like something a marketing team made up, but CES 2026 showed why the phrase is sticking. This is AI leaving the screen and turning up in machines that can sense, decide, and act in the real world. The contrast story was clear. On one end, you've got humanoids. Boston Dynamics showed its Atlas humanoid as fully electric and production-ready for industrial use. Hyundai says it plans to deploy Atlas at a Georgia plant by 2028 for parts sequencing tasks, and the framing was human-robot collaboration. Atlas can lift 110 pounds, has 56 degrees of freedom, and uses Google DeepMind's Gemini AI for advanced planning and problem-solving. That's genuinely impressive. On the other end, you've got heavy machinery co-pilots, which are nearer term for a lot of industries. Caterpillar's Cat AI assistant demo that I talked about earlier is the perfect example. A voice assistant embedded into a 6-ton excavator, setting safety boundaries and pulling troubleshooting guidance and manuals on request, designed to operate locally. If you run construction, mining, agriculture, logistics, or anything with expensive equipment and a skills gap, the co-pilot model makes immediate sense. It doesn't require a full humanoid robot revolution. It upgrades the tools you already have. And Caterpillar's broader context matters. Caterpillar's chief digital officer talked about combining AI with its fleet of 1.5 million connected machines, feeding 16 petabytes of operational data into its Helios platform. That's the kind of proprietary data moat that makes domain-specific physical AI plausible. Now, the business angle. Physical AI doesn't just change efficiency, it changes labor, safety, insurance, and operations design. If you introduce an AI co-pilot that prevents power line strikes, that's not just a productivity win. It's downtime avoided, it's fewer incidents, it's potentially fewer claims, and it's a different training curve for new operators. If humanoids like Atlas really do move into factories over the next few years, that changes how you design work cells and how you allocate human labor. Hyundai's own timeline hints at phased adoption for a reason. The reality check is that the physical world is less forgiving than software. CES even had LG showing a home robot, Cloyd, that can fold laundry and load a dishwasher, and LG openly admitted it's slow. That's Moravec's paradox in action. Physical skills remain hard. So my recommendation is pretty boring but useful. If you're an operations leader, focus on physical AI that reduces errors, improves safety, and augments skilled work first. Co-pilots, guided workflows, vision safety systems, and track humanoids as a medium-term bet rather than tomorrow's staffing plan. The hype is robots are here. The practical truth is assistive machines are here too, and they're going to quietly change operations before the humanoids do. Theme 5 is AI across the customer journey, and CES 2026 made it clear this is moving beyond the dumb chatbot era. Two examples stood out in the research. First, contact centers. CES demos and commentary highlighted context-aware bots, AI agent co-pilots for human reps, and omni-channel continuity, meaning you start in chat, hop to phone, and nobody makes you repeat your life story because the context follows. The broader claim floating around CES coverage is that advanced AI in contact centers can cut customer service costs by around 30% while speeding up resolution times, and that agent assist tools have been linked to big jumps in customer satisfaction in some reports. Second, marketing automation. Reddit used CES to unveil Max Campaigns, an AI-powered ad product that automates targeting, creative, and optimization. Reddit said it had been alpha testing with more than 600 advertisers and claimed early testers saw an average 27% higher conversion rate and 17% lower cost per action compared to their normal campaigns. It even generates Reddit-ready headlines using trending subreddit lingo and auto-crops creative. The business impact is pretty straightforward. AI can scale customer interactions and marketing decisions faster than teams can. It can run the funnel and support journey as an always-on system. But the risks matter here. If you ever rely on AI in customer-facing moments, you can end up with uniformity. Every brand sounding the same because they're all pulling from similar model patterns. Or you can misalign with your brand voice. And if your AI gets something wrong in a support context, you're not just wrong, you're wrong at scale. So treat customer journey AI like a product, not a bolt-on. Measure it, supervise it, and be clear about where humans step in. Because the goal isn't more automation. The goal is better customer experience with less waste. So let's pull all of this together. The real story is that AI is becoming an integral business component, not a nice-to-have enhancement. It's getting baked into the devices your people use, the operations that run your factories and fleets, and the systems that touch customers. But CES also made another point, quietly and repeatedly. The limiting factor isn't clever models, it's trust. We saw that in the focus on-device deepfake detection with Gen and Intel. We saw it in TrueSource's pitch that verification can happen without shipping personal data off the phone. And we saw it in industrial AI, where a simulation is only useful if you trust the data feeding it. So here's the practical playbook I'm taking out of CES 2026. First, move from pilots to platforms. The pilot phase is over. If you're still doing one-off AI experiments, you're going to waste time. Build reusable capability, data pipelines, model evaluation, governance, so every new AI use case gets cheaper and safer to ship. Second, treat edge and privacy as differentiators. On-device AI isn't just a constraint, it's a way to offer faster, safer experiences and to operate reliably in the field. Third, make ROI your North Star. Copy what Siemens and PepsiCo showcased. Pick problems with measurable pain and insist on at least 2 metrics per rollout so you don't fool yourself. Fourth, invest in data and frontline workflow redesign. Clean data and process change are what turn AI from a demo into a result. People plus AI teams outperform either alone, but only if you actually redesign the work. And fifth, build trust by design. Guardrails, monitoring, clear policies, and AI literacy, especially teaching people when not to use AI, are now the bottleneck. If you take nothing else from CES 2026, take this. AI is becoming infrastructure. That means it's going to be boring and expensive and absolutely worth getting right. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, good. That's a normal reaction to an infrastructure shift. The trick is to start with the boring wins and build from there. Thanks for listening. I'm Andy, and this was the AI Breakdown.